This is from Tim. First of all, Kenny is my favorite sibling. That part's for me. Okay. That part's for me. The rest of this is from Tim. Not often does one person have a chance to start his own eulogy. Yet here I go. Don't expect anything but good stuff, as Mama didn't raise no dummy. Hopefully you are here to celebrate my life. None of us have a say on how and when we get called back in. I heard a lot of people say the word unfair, but I would disagree and say God was more than fair to me. I have 2 daughters of my own and 3 sons through Terry. That in itself is a gift, not to mention all my grandkids. I was blessed with 5 sisters, 2 brothers, and so many nieces and nephews. The friends God has given me through the years have been awesome people. My biggest blessing has been my soulmate, Terry. Terry pulled me through the first cancer and has kept me well this long. Terry, I love you. I'm sorry for putting my family and friends through this. I love you all and would never hurt any of you on purpose. If I have ever wronged one of you, I'm sorry. If I didn't give you enough time, I'm sorry. Time is our most valuable asset. You only have what time you have, and you can't get more. Treasure your time as if it were your bank account or stocks you own. Don't waste it in argument or anger. Fill your time with love, and maybe love can spread. Love and cherish your family. My blood lives on through Christina and Lindsay. My ideas continue in all my children's minds. Enjoy the time you have. If you're not enjoying it, do something else. Well, that's all I'm saying. I'll let Kenny take it from here. He's a better storyteller than me anyway. Let me start with, he set me up there. He's somewhere smirking. Because when he asked me about this weeks ago, well, when he told me I was going to be doing this weeks ago, I said, all right, one condition. Don't say Kenny's got to say something funny. Don't say Kenny can speak better than I can. Don't say any of those things, because you're setting me up to fail. And sure enough, that's the last thing. Kenny's a better storyteller than I am. I'm going to try. I'm going to tell some stories. So, starting with when Tim and Chris were young, they used to love to fish. They went out to Mama and Papa Thompson's house and they found every fishing hole they could, and they hit it as hard as they could. And they have a whole lot of money, but they saved up money for this specific crankbait that they had been wanting to have. They get out there, they're excited. They finally get to the pond, and my cousin Ricky comes up. Was Ricky. And he takes the crankbait. Oh, look at this. And he puts it on his fishing pole. First cast out, crankbait's gone. Chris, livid. He's like, man, you owe me $3.40. And Ricky's mad, and he's pulling out money and throwing it at him. Here's your money. And it was like $1.15 or something like that. While Chris was on the ground kind of picking up quarters and angry, Ricky walks away, and Tim, being who Tim is, he followed him. A few minutes later, Chris looks up, and he's walking back with Ricky, and he's got his arm around him, and they're laughing, and they're having a good time. And Chris gives the money back, and they have a great day of fishing from then on. Because that's who Tim was. He brought people together. He knew his priorities. He knew what was important, was time and people. It wasn't money. He taught us all that many times. Also, when they were young, Tim loved to fix things, and Tim told Chris that when he grew up, he would fix toys. He'd have a shop where he fixed toys. And Tim and Chris could work in the back and fix bikes, because that's what Chris did, was fix bikes. So he did grow up, and he kind of fixed toys, some grown men toys. He took apart a lot of stuff in the house as he was growing up and put it back together to see how it works. I remember him putting in his 8-track tape on his yellow Datsun so that he could play Jefferson Airplane on it. I remember the day of his graduation, Mom being mad at him and screaming, "Let's go," because he had taken apart his graduation hat to see how it's put together, and he couldn't figure out how to get it back together. He liked to fix things. When Tim got a little older and he got the job at the FBI, I vividly remember him coming to Mom and Dad's house with his puppy Sydney by his side, back when Sydney was a nice puppy, not a mean puppy. And I remember him screaming, "I got it." And they're like, you got what? What do you got? And he starts, at the time, there was a TV show, He-Man, out, and he would just scream, "G-Man," and point at himself, and then turn around in the back way, "G-Man," and point at himself, because he was so proud that he got that job at the FBI. When I started at the FBI, the very first day, he had told one of the cleaning ladies that there's this guy that's going to start. He calls himself my brother. He's not really my brother. He's this gimpy kid from down the street. Left leg's a little shorter than his right, so he limps a lot. We call him Gimpy. He's really slow. You gotta be careful with Gimpy. So I start, and this lady introduces herself to me, and she's just all, "It's so nice that you're working here." So I think she's got issues, right? I think she's handicapped. So then it took us like a month of us talking to each other this way before we figured out that Tim was just screwing with both of us the whole time. Because that's who he is. One of my first days, he talked me into going to the Ron Mazzoli building downtown because we had to take some of our equipment out. We moved from there down to Blankenbaker. And we get up on the roof, and I'm like, "What are we doing on the roof? There's no edge on this building. It's like a 8-10-story building. There's no edge." And so I told you, we're taking equipment down. "Well, what are we doing?" He knows I'm petrified of heights. He said, "I need you to hold the cameras on the edge of the building while I unhook them and I take them down." So it took everything I could muster, and I crawl out there like inchworming on my belly. Finally get out there, hands shaking. I won't say what Tim normally says when he says shaking. You know what he says. Holds the camera, and he starts laughing. He's like, "You're so gullible. We're not taking down cameras. This is still a federal building. Get off there before you fall off." That's who he was. I remember growing up, he and I worked out a lot. At one point, he said, "Come over, help me wallpaper after we work out, and then when you're done, I'll take you out to lunch." So we did. We worked out to really loud music, as Chris and Jeannie would attest to. Afterwards, I put up the wallpaper. He tells me at a later time that night he heard the wallpaper one by one peeling off the wall because I did a crap job. Just But after it was over, my reward, he's like, "Well, let's go out to lunch." We got to pick up Christina and Lindsay from school too. So first we go to the Family Dollar, and he spent money buying them workbooks. This is their prize. I'm going to buy them workbooks. I'm like, "Their prize?" Because that's who they were. By the time we went to go get lunch at Rally's, he didn't have any money.
Yeah.
He didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. I was barely driving myself. We dig around his truck for enough money, like $1.20, that we bought one chicken sandwich that he takes with his paws and rips in half. And I ate half. He ate the other half on the way to get Christine and Lindsay. I would say that growing up, he was so proud of those girls. That every accomplishment they had, he talked about how smart they were, how great they were, and how he couldn't believe that they came from him. He felt that way throughout his life. When I first met Terry, wasn't quite used to Terry yet. And when we spoke, I don't remember what it is I said, but Terry came back with a fairly harsh comment, which I wasn't used to. Karen never gave me a harsh comment. I was taken back. Tim tells me, I'm going to marry her a little later. I'm like, are you sure, man? I mean, you're really sure about this? And Tim told me, she's got the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met. And she is the strongest person I've met. I need her. And he did. And Terry was so strong for him. Took care of him for so many years. He knew what he was doing. After the wedding, and we won't mention the squirrel on the wedding, he talked about his boys, his new boys. He was so proud of them too. And he talked about how good they were at sports and how funny they were and how cocky they were. I didn't realize he was speaking truth, but he was dead on. It reminds me of the story when, as Stephen got older, he asked me and Tim to be his corner man in a tough man competition. We said yes, of course, and we're standing over there. We don't know what we're doing. We're holding a bucket. What's the bucket for? I don't know. You hold the bucket. I don't know. You hold the bucket. So we're holding the bucket. Everybody else is warming up their fighters. We look over. Where's Stephen? He's outside smoking. After his smoke break, it was his time to go. So Tim leads the way, and instead of going up the middle aisle like we're supposed to as they're announcing Stephen, we go on the side aisle because Tim don't know where he's going, and he's tripping and walking over all these camera wires and all the speaker wires all the way there. Both me and Tim, no idea what we're doing. Stephen just pretending like this is supposed to be, and he's back there dancing all the way to the ring. We get up there, he gets in the ring. They ring the bell. Stephen starts. He's dancing around. This guy's dancing around. Timmy screams, hit him! Stephen hits him, knocks him straight out. One hit. Best corner man ever. Stephen was 1-0. We were 1-0 as corner man. I decided to retire after that. That was good enough for me. So proud of every one of you all. So proud of his grandkids. Always talked about the siblings and keeping the siblings together. Always bringing us together like he is here today as well. Another time when we were at work, this is one of our first trips out of town together. And you've probably heard this one, but it was a small project, and we were in the mail room just setting up a computer, and he was running some cables for the computer. And after we set it up, and I'm already talking about what's for lunch, because that's the topic of conversation when me and Tim went out together from the time we left that morning, what's for lunch and who's driving. We get done, and Tim starts cleaning up the entire mailroom, stacking papers, wiping things down. And Tim is not known to be a neat person. He's not. That's not one of his better qualities. And I was like, what are you doing? Can we get out of here? And he said, always leave them better than you found them. And I feel like that applies to us as well, that he always left us better than he found us. I think it was about a month ago, me and Chris went fishing with Tim. Me and Tim had a little bit of a long time, and he said, and you've heard this one too, that every book, even your favorite ones, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Nobody remembers the beginning. Nobody wants to get to the end. It's all that stuff in the middle that makes you love that book. It took me a second, but I realized, he's not talking about books at all. I get it, because that's how Tim talked. He talked in parables. He's not talking about books at all. And he says, as long as you keep telling the stories, it's like the book never ends. And I believe that. After that, he also told me some story about a red fox, baby fox lost in the woods with a golden red coat. And I had no idea what he was talking about. Still don't. And when I told him that, what are you talking about? He said, that story must not have been for you then. That's who Tim was. My brother Eddie also wrote a few things about Tim and his time at the land. I'd like to read those to you. Eddie's words. my friend Timmy. Tim started coming to the farm in 2011. He would always have a project. Most of the time it ended in a fire being built. It never seemed like work. The last hour before we would leave to go home would end in a drink and a cigar for me. We spent the most time in winter. In those early days, I would put on a jar of beans in the wood stove. There was a pot-bellied stove in the wood cabin, so on the coldest days, we would go in and sit by it. We would usually build a large bonfire and sit around it once it got hot. Tim would always say, "We stole another day from Old Man Winter." Tim talked a lot about time and how important it was to him. He knew that his health was not good. He had to be careful not to hit his leg on something, or he would be in the hospital with an infection. Tim loved the FBI, but was happy when he retired because he wanted time to be with his family. Tim loved his family and often spoke of them around the fires. He loved his dog, Toby. He loved telling stories of how we trained him not to kill the chickens.
Oh, sounds like it.
Tim loved to hunt, but was not the best shot and was teased about it quite often. Tim mostly just liked to hang out with everyone before, during, and after the hunt. And all the time I knew Timmy, he never complained about being dealt a bad hand on his health. He never said, "Why me?" He just always seemed to appreciate what time he was given. Tim told me at the farm on July 6th that he was going to the doctor the next day. He said something was wrong and his eyes were yellow. The doctor put him in the hospital and gave him the horrible news that he only had weeks to live. Tim was stronger than most people the way he handled the news. He came to the farm on Thursday, August 13th, and we sat around and went on an ATV ride and fished. He told me that when he gets to heaven, he hoped to see my dad and hang out with him. When I said I would take him home, he stood up and hugged me, and he loved me. I knew he was saying goodbye to me and the farm. Tim was not a religious man, but he believed in God in heaven. Tim said it in his words and the way that he lived his life. I hope to someday be able to sit again with my friend and talk about the good times. I love you, buddy. Eddie. Another story that comes to mind, as me and Tim were driving around at the FBI. I'm on the phone with Michelle, and as I tell her goodbye, as always, "I love you, honey." And she says, "I love you too." I was like, "Okay, well, have a good one." We talked about something else, and I told her I loved her again. Tim's like, "Oh, God, y'all make me sick. I love you. I love you so much." So I get off the phone. I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." We go down the road a little bit. Terry calls Tim, and his phone went off. "All of me loves all of you." And he tried to fumble, turn it off, just looked at me and said, "Shut up. Just shut up." Tim had high expectations for everybody. He always said, "Do as I say, not as I do." Told everybody, "Don't cry over me. I don't want that. I want you to laugh." As Lindsay would say, when you'd walk in and see him, he'd be the first one crying. So don't feel bad that we cry. We're all going to miss him. We're all going to miss Tim, one of the greatest men in my life. I love him. I will honor him every day. He loved all of you. And he also loved tacos. And I think we got tacos. Do we have tacos? Okay. That's all I'm going to say for Tim. I think it's time to go eat tacos. What? Yep. We do all have like 1,000 stories of Tim, and I could stand up here all day and talk about mine. But we put postcards on each table. They put postcards on each table that are addressed to Terry. If you could take some time, maybe take them home with you. Write a story or two that you think about that makes you smile when you think about Tim, or whatever you got, and then send them back out. If you want to leave them today, that's fine. If you want to take them home and think about it, that's great too. Thank you all.